Tehran, a city of over 9 million, is running out of drinking water. In early November, Iranian officials warned that if it doesn't rain soon, the capital could face water rationing or even mass evacuation. Dams feeding the city are at historic lows, some holding barely a tenth of their designed capacity. And this isn't just a local drought, it's the face of a global crisis. Iran's water crisis, from inefficient irrigation to over-extraction of groundwater, has collided with a warming planet. Climate change has made droughts longer, harsher, and more unpredictable. But Tehran's crisis isn't an isolated problem. It's a warning for every water-stressed country. Across the world, countries like Kuwait, Chile, Afghanistan, Peru, and Tunisia are also facing severe drinking water shortages. A stark reminder that climate-driven water scarcity is a global emergency. And Pakistan too faces risk of running dry. According to news reports, Islamabad and Rawalpindi already suffer chronic water shortages. On top of that, Pakistan's glaciers, the third pole of the planet, are melting faster each year. Dams and reservoirs are silting up, and erratic monsoons now bring either disaster or drought. This year's floods submerged a third of the country. Then the 2024 heat waves scorched crops and reservoirs. For all of us, Tehran's parched reservoirs are a warning for what lies ahead and the urgent need for climate resilience, smart water governance, and adaptation financing, which have to become central to policy. And it is at this critical moment that world leaders are gathering in Brazil for COP30, the 30th United Nations Climate Change Conference. This is the first conference of the parties, or COP, since scientists confirmed that the planet has crossed 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming, a symbolic line long described as the point of no return. COP30 arrives at a crossroads. Humanity has never talked more about climate change, yet global emissions are still rising. COP came about at the 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Its mission was to stabilize greenhouse gas levels and prevent dangerous human interference with the climate system. But this year's meeting has already opened amid deep divisions. Many world leaders, including those from China and the US, the two biggest emitters, are absent. Meanwhile, Brazil, the host nation, faces criticism for clearing parts of the Amazon to build roads for the summit, even as it issues new oil and gas licenses. Negotiators in Brazil are debating four key fronts. First, fossil fuels, whether through strengthened language from COP28's call to transition away from coal, oil, and gas. Second, finance. Rich nations promise $300 billion per year by 2035, but developing countries say that's not enough. Then, renewables. A goal to triple global renewable capacity by 2030 is still off track. Then, forests. Brazil launched a $125 billion Tropical Forests Forever Fund to protect rainforests, though some major economies have yet to contribute. Over 3 decades, the COP has seen both milestones and meltdowns. The Kyoto Protocol in 1997 brought the first legally binding emission cuts, but without US participation, its impact was limited. Then the Copenhagen Summit in 2009 exposed bitter divides between rich and poor nations. And the Paris Agreement in 2015 shifted the model to voluntary pledges, flexible but weakly enforced. Each year since has revealed the same paradox. The nations most responsible for the crisis are not the ones most affected by it. Wealthy industrialized countries built prosperity on fossil fuels, while developing nations like Pakistan now face floods, droughts, and glacial collapse with limited means to adapt. This imbalance defines every climate negotiation. Developing countries demand fairness, recognition of loss and damage, and finance that comes as grants, not loans. Wealthy nations often resist strong language on responsibility or liability. Activists around the world are calling on COP30 to be the moment where leaders commit to a fast and fair phase out of fossil fuels, protect environmental defenders and indigenous communities, and massively scale up non-debt climate finance for the most vulnerable nations. Because as we've seen in Pakistan, climate change is a human rights crisis. But the COP process itself is under scrutiny. What began as a diplomatic forum has, over time, what critics say become a climate fair, crowded with lobbyists, corporations, and photo opportunities. Announcements often outnumber real deliverables. That's why Pakistan and other vulnerable countries must use COP30 not just to attend, but also to influence. For Pakistan, this means reframing its role from participant to survival advocate. From Kyoto to Paris, the world has learned how to talk about climate change with urgency, but is yet to act with conviction. And one can only hope that this year's conference brings better news, but more importantly, real change. Decisions made in Belém will set the course for climate finance, loss and damage recovery, and the pace of emission cuts. Choices that will quite literally define the length of our lives.